Here we're going to solve this rational equation, and the strategy is we'll be looking for the lowest common denominator first, and then multiply each of them by the lowest common denominator. And that's why I left the space right here and right here for the lowest common denominator, okay? And to do so, we have to factor out the denominators. So if you look at this right here, is just x minus 1. We cannot factor anything anymore. But for this is x squared minus 1. Namely, we have x squared minus 1 squared. So we can factor this by using the difference of two squares formula to get x minus 1 times x plus 1, okay? So this right here is the factoring for that. And now, you see that this fraction has the x minus 1, and we also have the x minus 1 right here. So to get the LCD, and let me just put this down right here for you guys. We just need to put down the x minus 1 one time, and we have this that's left over right here, right? The x plus 1. So how to multiply this extra factor? Now we will just multiply this by each of them. And it's not the top and bottom, okay? We're not trying to add a fraction. This is an equation. We can just multiply each term by this. So right here, let me just write down the x minus 1 times x plus 1. And then right here, we also multiply the 1 by this. So we'll do 1 times x minus 1, x plus 1, okay? And lastly, we also multiply this with x minus 1 times x plus 1. And now, we should be having a lot of cancellations. For example, for the first one, we see that the x minus 1 cancel each other out. And then, we just have the 2 times this, right? And be sure you take the 2, multiply in. So we will have 2 times x, that's of course just 2x. And then 2 times 1, we have plus 2, okay? And then we'll continue. Notice that we are going to add 1 times this and that. 1 times this is just this part, right? And we are just going to multiply this out. And in fact, x minus 1 times x plus 1 is just going to be x squared minus 1 because that's a factoring for that, right? But of course, I can show you guys, you can just do x times x, that's x squared. And then x times 1, that's positive x. And then negative times x, this is negative x. And you see they will cancel each other out. And finally, negative 1 times positive 1, that's minus 1. But as I told you, the answer was that. Anyway, on the right hand side though, I'm not looking at x squared minus 1 because I factored it already. I'm looking at this. This is the original denominator, right? But because I have this multiplied with that, in fact, they cancel each other out because this is out with that, this is cancelled with that. So we only have a number 4 on the right hand side. So now this equation has no more fraction, right? And we do notice that we have x squared right here. So the strategy is we will make one side equal to 0 and have everything on the other side, and then factor the other side and solve from there. I'm going to keep everything onto the left hand side, so I will write down the x squared first right here. And this is the plus 2x, and we have the 2 minus 1, which is plus 1, and this is equal to 4. And now, let me minus 4 on both sides, so that I can get the 0 on the right hand side. Anyway, here is x squared, and then plus 2x. 1 minus 4 is negative 3, and then this is equal to 0. And we can factor this out. We get x and x right here. And now what times 4 give us minus 3, and together they add up to be positive 2. The correct combination for that is plus 3 and minus 1, right? Okay, continue. This right here, we put down x plus 3. We make this equal to 0. And then we also set x minus 1 to be 0. And from here, we can, of course, just minus 3 on both sides. And we get x is equal to negative 3. And from here, we can just add 1 on both sides, so that we get x is equal to positive 1. However, we are not done yet, because this was a rational equation in the first place. When you are doing a rational equation, be sure you check your answers, because sometimes you may end up with a fake answer. Some answer that seems to be legit, but it actually doesn't work. In this case, x equals to 1. This right here is not a correct answer. This is not correct. This is what I call a fake answer. And to be proper, this is what we call the extraneous solution. And the reason that I'm getting rid of 1 is because if you plug in 1 into the original x right here in the denominator, we get 2 over 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, but when you have 0 in the wrong place, if 0 is in the denominator, this fraction is no longer good. It's no longer legitimate because we cannot divide it by 0, right? So you see, if x is equal to 1, plugging into the original, we get 2 over 1 minus 1 plus 1, and then 4 over 1 squared minus 1. Right here, when we have a 0 in the denominator, that will cause this to be undefined. Okay? So that means this right here is actually no good. And if you plug in negative 3 into the x, you will see that it actually works out okay. So x equals to negative 3. This right here is the only answer. When you are doing this question on the test also, be sure you only box the only answer. This is the correct, legitimate answer. You have to get rid of the fake stuff. Okay? That's it.